right, Zixin, so you have these three images and your focus is really on the hat. So this is kind of a twist on what we've seen from other students where you're doing a fashion shoot and you have the same subject in all of your images. She's changing outfits for all of the images, but that's less of the point. The point is really that you want to have an advertisement for these hats. And I think that that's working well here. Now, something you said is that you were going to do just a close-up of the hat, but you see that everywhere. And I think that that's probably true. That is something that you see a lot and probably doesn't need to be repeated often. But if you're thinking about putting together a spread of images, three images that all are going to work together to create an overall kind of story about the fashion in this three image shoot, we want one image that probably would be close up. So I think you could have, especially these first two images, I think are your stronger images for illustrations on the hat. And then maybe one third image that's really the close up of the hat and much more about the shape and texture and less so about the portrait side of it. So I think you could push to have one image that is in that way, and it would not feel repetitive because it would be feeding off of these other two images that you have. Now, of these images, the strongest image I think is that first image. So let's take a closer look at that. You have your subject kind of leaning into these flowers. You have a blank background, and the hat has such a strong color and texture that it's really pulling us in. It's less about the portrait of the person. You're not truncating them because we're seeing their head, but you're somewhat truncating them because we're not able to see above her nose. We're not able to see her eyes. That's either in dark shadow or covered by the hat. So this is a really strong image, lots of negative space above, and I think that works well. Now, the background being this white wall, it looks like, feels kind of dull, so I would probably light that back wall or make adjustments to it in Photoshop in post-production, just so it's either brighter or like colored of some sort, because right now it just feels like it's kind of an unlit wall. It feels dull and a little bit muddy, if you understand what I mean by that. This image I also find very compelling as the light's coming in from above and into the right of the subject, really illuminating the hat, and it's much less, again, about the subject. Her face is in shadow. Here we could see some of her face, but here it's definitely about the hat. It's the brightest point. It's in the center. It's white. It's clearly about the hat. I'd probably bring in a reflector to open this side of it up a little bit more so we can have more of this sort of texture on the inside there. But you have this really nice balance of positive and negative space in asymmetrical balance as you have this picture on the wall, really creating nice balance. It kind of reflects the flowers that are on her shirt and gives us a sense of place. Again, you can see the right side of the histogram isn't really used as it wasn't in this image, so I would brighten up that back wall so it doesn't have that muddy appearance, but has more pop to it. And I understand how difficult it is to have white on white, but when you do achieve that, when you are able to show the different tonality and shape, having white on white, I think it really proves your photographic prowess. And then this is the last image that has a very different feel to me. So those first two images do feel more fashion-based. Here again, we have the flowers and the vase, kind of, I think of that as like a juice jar. That's holding it to the side, and then your subject sitting there with this real deadpan expression on her face. She's looking away from the camera, and there's a real feeling of loss in this image. We're not quite sure what's going on. Again, you have the light coming in from the side, illuminating one side of her face. Here it's much more about her as a subject and her emotion or lack thereof that's being expressed in this image. And that starts to be the primary essence of this image, where the other two images seemed much more focused on the fashion and the hat. In this image, the light works. I think working with natural light, if you could have shot this at a different time of the day, Oh, I hope you're not actually having to shoot at 1:30 in the morning, but this says it was shot at 1:30 in the morning, so obviously natural light was not an option there. But if you could shoot this during the day and have some natural light, I think that would add a softness to this image that could really work well. So nice variety with your images. I think you like that idea of storyboarding, which we had asked for you guys to write out. But here we can clearly see that you have 3 different ideas with your images. They're very distinct in your approach. So we can be in the same place and have the same model and have very distinct images, and you're proving that here. Nice work.